Let's talk to Mickey Brady. You're Sinn Féin's newest MP. Now, you've got to give up, of course, all of that influence that you had as a backbench Sinn Féin MLA at Stormont. And one of the key issues that you were particularly interested in and spoke about was welfare reform. Now, yes. You are going into some kind of limbo, some people might say, where you could have an influence at Westminster to talk about a critical issue that matters to you on austerity cuts, on welfare reform, and you're foregoing that on a point of principle, not to take your seat.
Well, first of all, Mark, I'm delighted you thought that I had such influence in Stormont. I'm pleased to hear that.
Did you not?
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Well, that's what your party always tells us. But anyway, you certainly spoke on the matter. It was something that mattered a great deal to you.
We've started off at a positive note.
Right.
It's my background. I mean, I've worked in an advice centre for 27 years before going to Stormont.
And I know that very well.
You know, so it's the whole social security issue is something that I am very much and have been very much a part of. Whether I'm in limbo or not, I would not accept that. As a constituency MP, I would represent my constituents, all of them, to the best of my ability. Obviously, in terms of the issue around the welfare cuts, I have been very instrumental in actually doing meetings across the north and explaining to people how they will be most affected by these cuts.
OK, but look, we all know how politics works. Politics works by people standing up in whatever chamber it is and making a speech, and then, when there's a division, voting. Here is an opportunity with the Conservative Prime Minister, with a wafer-thin majority, for Sinn Féin to actually have some influence. £12 billion of austerity cuts coming down the tracks, according to the Tories. Nobody's disputing that. We don't know the detail. Suggestions that they could affect child benefit, all kinds of areas that you're concerned about, and you are not going to have any influence to stop that. Well, are you not selling your voters short?
No, I mean, my voters elected me on an abstentionist ticket. So you're almost inferring that I'm suddenly going to disappear and that the whole welfare issue will sort of go over my head. I mean, it's nonsense to suggest that. Obviously, in terms of the vote, our vote in Uri Armagh actually increased. And although other parties tried to make huge issues out of the fact that we would not be taking our seat, and in fact, when canvassing one door, I was told that one SDLP canvasser told them that if I was elected, I would sit in the House, take a big salary, put my feet up,
well, you're not going to do that. OK, so you're not going to do that. But here's the point. Are you effectively saying to Sinn Féin voters that the point of principle, that is abstentionism, not taking your seat, is more important to Sinn Féin than helping to stop austerity cuts? That's what you're saying in essence.
We will continue to fight austerity.
From the outside?
If I can quote Alistair a couple of weeks ago, he stated that he had missed 75% of the votes in Westminster, and his constituents actually wanted him to be in the constituency.
Well, he says he was there for the votes that counted.
Well, so he said.
Yeah.
And you know,
But the point is, you can do nothing to stop austerity. You can't vote against it. On this sacred point of principle, you are giving up a chance to make a change.
Well, with respect, Mark, I think Martin McGuinness has pointed out very clearly that the parties in the Assembly need to be united against austerity.
And they're not.
We've heard a lot about begging bowls.
Right.
It's as if Cameron and company were some sort of philanthropists who give it out of the goodness of their heart. People here are taxpayers. We need the opportunity to actually decide our own fate. In terms of the Conservatives, we have a party making decisions here who got less than approximately 9,000 votes in the election here.
OK, let's hear from Alistair MacDonald. You took a gamble in a way, Mickey Brady, didn't you? You thought perhaps that Ed Miliband might be in number 10 and perhaps the course of the cuts might be turned around. Now, that has failed pretty spectacularly from Ed Miliband's point of view. So we know there's greater austerity coming. We know that you're not going to get the money that you thought you might get under Ed Miliband. So are you going to knuckle down and face up to this reality?
The Stormont House Agreement can be implemented if there's a will. The £2 million that Jeffrey's talking about, that is the assessment of the Treasury in the amount of money that is already being paid to people in the north because welfare cuts have not been implemented. So, you know, this is as if this £2 million being taken out of the block grant. Vulnerable people who need to get their benefit are still getting the benefit that they would have been getting anyhow.
But it is coming off the bottom line as far as the departments are concerned.
I understand what you're saying.
You can't wish that away.
No, I'm not trying to wish anything away. But
so executive ministers have less money to play with.
But, you know, this talk that has been, Jeffrey and other people around the table here, it's all our fault that welfare cuts were not implemented.
Well, you withdrew at the last minute when it was going to the vote in the Assembly on third reading. Sinn Féin reneged.
No, we did not renege. We withdrew because other parties had reneged because...
But it's not how any of the other parties see it.
No, of course it's not.
Sinn Féin has a singular worldview on this issue. None of the other parties agree.
Everybody else has a singular worldview in Sinn Féin anyhow. But could I make the point?
Okay.
Could I make the point? The point is that part of the Stormont House agreement was to ensure that people on benefit would continue to get the same amount. People coming on to benefit would be protected. The DUP then decided that that was not the case.
Okay, so David Ford shaking his head.
Shake his head all he wants.
That is complete.